Hello everybody, we are here with your Tsuki guide. We'll be playing Tsuki over in the jungle. He sometimes gets played as a solo laner. He sometimes gets played in the mid lane. But for the most part, his premium role is in the jungle and then tertiarily over in the solo lane. So on Tsuki, we are going to be getting ourselves our Assassin's Blessing, our tier 1 mace, health potion, Hand of the Gods, and well, I wasn't going to get a blink. I'm actually going to go beads this game. They've got a lot of CC. Chang'e, Apollo Mez, Ymir, Freeze, Merc, Grab, Artemis, ulti. So instead of getting a blink and being a little bit more aggressive in the early game, I'm going to go beads and just be a little bit safer. For our first ability here on Tsuki, we are going to be grabbing our 2. Our 2 has the most base damage out of all of our abilities. And it can be the ability we level first. It actually does depend. Your first and second ability on Tsuki are really, really strong. So Tsuki's second ability is pretty cool in that the way that it fires is very, very unique. That was kind of awkward with the Poseidon one knocking it out of position. The way that it fires is it fires left, then right, then center. So you'll see I go left, right, and then center. So you have to kind of whip the ability around just a little bit. What this ability is going to do is it is going to do damage on that left and that right hand slap. And then on your final slap, you're going to do twice as much damage. So a little left slap, which hits for a disarm, a little right slap, which is a disarm, and then your middle slap, which is a stun. That last final slap down is going to be a stun on the target. And you gain an additional 25% movement speed. That was actually really risky. I'm just going to go for this Chang'e. You can see I'm going to stun her right there. Hit it with my 1. Gain a little bonus movement speed off this. Try to get away. Unfortunately, not quite going to be able to kill him. So this ability is going to be one of our main forms of jungle clear because we can easily hit the whole camp with it. It's also just a great ability overall because it does have so much CC on it with the disarms at first. And then, of course, with the stun at the end. Now, on this ability as well, we should mention, you don't actually, it's not like a AMA where you have to hit the whole thing to get credit. Just whatever you hit, you get credit for type dealio. Onward to our first ability. This is the ability that oftentimes will get leveled up first in the mid lane because of its poke. We throw out a line-based ability. This is going to travel through creeps, and it will stop on a enemy god hit. That target will then have our Shuriken stuck inside of them, and if we get close to the enemy god to pull it back out of them and retrieve it, we are going to reduce the cooldown. So the cooldown of this ability will reduce by 4 seconds if we pull it back out of the target. What is it going to do? This is going to hit somebody, and it is a movement speed steal. After casting this ability, you will also have a ranged auto attack, and that is what is going to have the movement speed steal on it. So the first part of this ability, clear that goes through. Second part of the ability, it makes my next auto attack, instead of being melee, it makes it a ranged auto. That ranged auto is specifically what has this movement speed steal on it. So the first part, just the damage in the cooldown reduction, right? That if you go and pull it out. Second part, a 25% movement speed steal. Movement speed steal means that it's a slow on them and a buff on you. So it's a 50% movement speed exchange total. Onward to our third ability. Our third ability is Silver Moon Caltrops. This is the ability we are going to level up last. We literally throw out a bunch of Caltrops on the floor, and enemies that walk over this are going to take damage. If an enemy stops moving on top of it, they will not take any more damage until they start moving yet again. They have to be moving in order to take the damage from this ability. While they are on this, they will also be slowed by 15 to 25%. Finally, much like our first ability, giving us a ranged auto, this ability is also going to give us a ranged auto attack. After we cast it, our next ability becomes ranged. You can see it right there. This attack is going to deal bonus physical damage. That's all it does. No crazy slows, no CC. It does bonus damage. Now, the bonus damage is sure nice, and it does count once again as a ranged auto attack. So you can see I can like clear the oracles with it. Pretty nifty. That 3 bonus damage as well used to be true damage, I do believe, back in the day. I believe it has been nerfed by this point. I want to clarify that it is no longer true damage. No, just bonus physical damage, it says. Let's get into our passive before we get into our ultimate, because our ultimate gets a little crazy. Our passive, to be fair, is also crazy. You can see a lot of action down here by our passive bar. So we have a couple of different things that are going to be on this bar. You can see that there's 2 circles, as well as 2 giant blade-like structures. These 2 little circles are going to be indicative, just so you know, of our 1 and our 3. So when I throw out my 1, it'll let you know that you have a ranged auto by glowing up the circle. Same thing with my 3, it'll glow up the circle just to let you know that we have those ranged autos incoming. And yes, you can have both of those ranged autos charged at the same time. The other part of our passive is our bladey blades. These bladey blades, we have a left blade and a right blade. Our left hand weapon, when it's empowered, gains a 50% cleave and restores mana. Our right gains bonus damage and restores health. And so they become empowered as you utilize them. So when you actually attack with them, these are going to become empowered. And then you see the little mana, health, and bonus damage that you get. On top of that, Tsuki also has a auto attack chain. And so Tsuki's auto attack chain is, he has a AoE, so it's all 1-1-1 in terms of the progression. But your third auto attack is a little tiny AoE in front of you. Let me go see if I can't find a little campy camp to show you guys. Gonna show off a little AoE. So if we go attack a scap 1 and a 2, and then wham, we get a little AoE action on that third auto. Finally, into our ultimate. Our ultimate is a crazy ability. So step 1, we are CC immune while channeling this ability. There is 2 distinct parts to it. We also take 30% reduced damage while we are channeling this ability as well. The first part is going to be these beams that come out. These beams are going to do damage to everybody that we hit with it. Not a ton of damage. You can see 30 to 110, but you have to keep in mind that is times 4 for 4 different beams.
Get out of this.
Enemy ultimate down.
Going to use my 2 to catch up, and then just land a couple of autos and put down this Artemis. So at first, we're going to do the beams. We launch out 4 beams. After we launch out those beams, if we hit enemy gods with them, we will mark them with potentially every single beam, up to 3 total enemy gods. So if you were to land the beam on max targets, you would actually hit 12 times in terms of the follow-up for this ability. The follow-up is the dash, which is where the real damage comes from. Tsuki rapidly dashes to all the targets that he hit, dealing a ton of damage. You have to keep in mind this dash damage also potentially times 4. So theoretically, on 1 to 3 god, you could actually hit 4 times beam damage, plus 4 times bash damage, which is where a ton of your ultimate damage comes for on Tsuki. And that is Suki's kit. It takes a while to get through because it's kind of a complicated kit. For our build, you can see we grabbed the Warrior Tabi. Tsuki is a ability-based assassin, not an auto attack, really based assassin. What that means for us is we're going to be putting ourselves into a type of hybrid build, something similar that you would see on like a set where we have to go aggressive, get into the backline. We don't really have a getaway skill. The closest thing we have to a getaway skill is the bonus movement speed from R2, as well as we can pick up the red buff in accident. Whoops, sorry buddy. I'm so used to playing mid lane. That's on me. So we've got like getaway type stuff. We've got bonus movement speed on R2. We've got the potential movement speed on R1 that we can use to give us a little speed buff. We've got our ultimate, which can kind of be used as a getaway because you can use it for the CC immunity and not fire it on anybody, or you can try to use it on a target far away. So we've got options, but we don't have like a direct getaway skill. So we grab the Warrior Tabi, then we are going to get ourselves, how's that blue buff not dying? What the die? Now we're gonna get ourselves into a Crusher. And after my Crusher, we're gonna go right into a Sledge. Sledge is such a good item for these more front-liney assassins. The amount of stats that it gives you is just disgusting. I would argue it is the singular best item in the game of Smite right now. 40 physical power, 300 health, 150 mana, 20% CCR. CCR means you will get CC'd less, 20% less. And then, of course, the potential 30 magical and physical protections just helps keep you alive for so long. For our second active, we got that Blink. You can get Blink as your first active, like I said earlier. But this game, they just have so much CC that I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to live through all of their crazy. Literally every single one of them has some form of really good CC.
America to the rescue.
For our leveling order on Tsuki, we are getting our ultimate absolutely whenever we can. Our ultimate leveling up is going to just increase the damage, but that damage increase is notable. Then we are going to rank up our 2 in the jungle. Our 2 is going to give us a bunch of damage as well. We remember that this swing damage is ×2 as well. Then we're going to rank up our 1, which increases the damage. And finally, our 3, which is going to increase the damage and the slow.
Your left tower is under attack.
So that is 4, 2, 1, 3. Some people like to go 4, 1, 2, 3. That's okay. It's a little bit more of a poke-oriented build. And that's fine by me. But when I'm jungling, I prefer the 4, 2, 1, 3. For our matchups here on Tsuki, Tsuki in general just does well, period. He is a pretty consistent ban in high level. He is a pretty consistent ban in high level gameplay. So you won't see him in a bunch of ranked because 1, he is quite strong, and 2, he is quite annoying. Think about kind of Persephone. Like, not only is Persephone good, she's also just annoying to deal with. Tsuki kind of provides that same annoyance to the team. And so the combination of being good and being annoying means that he's almost always banned. But if you do get the opportunity to play him, what you want to be going against, Tsuki loves going against anybody that he can burst down. He has very good damage, particularly for like the first 20 minutes of the game, where he can abuse a lot of those base stats and some early damage items like a Crusher. So anybody squishy at all, doesn't really matter what they bring to the table, as long as they're an assassin, really a mage, a hunter, you know, outside of the crazy tanky ones, because we'll talk about that in a second. Then Tsuki's loving life, because Tsuki wants to be able to go in on you, pop 1 round of abilities, and simply have you die. Quick detour from our bad matchups while we talk about the 4th item I picked up. I am not a big fan of this item. I talk about it often. I think Soul Eater is severely over-purchased in Smite. ever since they nerfed the physical power on this item, I think that it is a 6 out of 10 item, and standardly you don't want to be building 6 out of 10 items. I think that Tsuki is a notable exception to the rule. I think that Soul Eater works really well on Tsuki. I think there's an argument to be made for Tsuki or for Soul Eater on Wukong potentially and on Set potentially, but outside of those 3 gods, I would not recommend the Soul Eater. For me, the reason why I get it on Tsuki is it is going to factor into this hybrid build that we're going. It's going to give us a little bit of damage, a little bit of sustain. Particularly, I would keep an eye on Soul Eater as well in games that you do not have healing on your team. So if you feel like the enemy team is going to be building a lot of if you feel like you're going to be building a lot of anti-heal on the enemy team, maybe you've got like a Raw on your team and you've also got an Ardio and all sorts of stuff, I would probably stick away from Soul Eater. If you have just an off healer on your team, like we have a Guan Yu, or maybe you just have one Sylvanas or something, that's more so of the time that I would recommend getting into the Soul Eater, because reminder, anti-heal like a Divine Ruin, Brawlers, all that good stuff will also be working on your lifesteal. So keep that in mind. You don't want to be necessarily building a bunch of lifesteal into a team that's going to already be building a bunch of anti-healing, or that has a bunch of anti-healing built into their kits. I'm going to take me a little look here at the Mercury. I've got my passive built up. I'm going to ulti for this Merc. I'm going to chase him wherever he goes. All right, he died right in front of me. I've got my double autos built up, so I'm going to use my double ranged autos, but then my abilities are already back up again. So I'm going to go right back into those abilities and get my ranged autos back. We'll talk about that in just a second, but we're going to back it up. We're going to go to our matchups once again. For bad matchups for Tsuki, tanks tend to do the best against Tsuki. Tanks are not crazy meta right now. They're having a little bit of a hard time. But tanks in general do better against Tsuki because Tsuki can't use his crazy burst damage to bring you out of the game. My personal favorite pick against Tsuki is Hades. Hades is gonna ulti. If Tsuki tries to like ulti into Hades, you just counter ulti it, and he's sitting there stuck in your ulti. His only way to get out of your ult is to use his own ult defensively and not shoot anybody with it. It really, really puts Tsuki in an awkward bind. Other gods that can actually do well, same concept, other tankier gods like a Zhong Kui. Zhong Kui actually does pretty dang well, and Zhong Kui is actually getting buffed very soon as well to have even more damage. But anybody that is on the tankier end, your warriors, your guardians, and those were the couple notable mages that are also tanky that can potentially deal with the Tsuki nonsense. So back into our passive. Oh, actually, before we get into our passive, let's have ourselves a little bit of a team fight. I'm gonna try to run away for just a second, use some of my bonus range damage. I'm gonna use my 2 right here for the bonus movement speed. I'm gonna turn around onto the Mercury now that I've got that going. Use it for an ulti onto as many people as I can. I'm gonna go back and forth between so many people. You can see how long that ability was going off. That's because I hit 3 of them with pretty much the entire ulti. So that was like a big fat full 12 chain. I'm gonna hit this Apollo with the disarm, try to kite him around just a little bit. Got down my call trap, so the Chang'e ran through those call traps right as I died and actually gave me that kill there at the end. For our next item, let's look at their composition. They've got a little bit of healing with the Chang'e. They're gonna have a little bit of sustain on this team as well with items like Devo Gloves. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna be a little bit aggressive. I'm gonna get a Brawler's Beat Stick. Reminder, in any game that a team has more healing, we would be replacing this Crusher with an earlier Brawler's Beat Stick. Also gonna get rid of my Assassin's Blessing here and get us into another item. So the patch has not landed yet. If this was post-patch, I'm gonna be honest with you, I would probably get a CAD shield here. Healing is having a big change in Smite very soon during the next patch. and all forms of buffed healing are gonna affect all forms of healing, and all forms of healing reduction are going to affect all forms of healing. That means things like CAD shield are going to also increase things like life steal. It's going to increase your soul leader stuff. It's going to increase in any healing in your kit, all sorts of everything. So CAD shield is going to be a very popular pickup, as well as Rod of Asclepius starting very soon, but not yet. So I'm looking at their team comp. They've got 3 auto attack physical damage dealing characters. One of their magic damage dealing characters is a Ymir that I'm not worried about. So I'm going to go into a Void Shield. This Void Shield is going to give me a little bit of percent pen on top of my flat pen. Keep in mind that Aura pen is the most efficient flat pen to stack with flat pen because the way that pen works in Smite is it's aura first, then flat pen, then percent pen. So even on a squishy character like, say, the Apollo, I'm actually going to get this Void Shield 15% protection reduction, applying first because it's an aura around my character, and then I'll get the 30 flat pen from my 2 flat pen items, effectively giving me true damage against all of the squishies. And as we talked about earlier, squishies are who you should be targeting on Suki. That brings us into our team fight stage of the game and what we are looking to do. On Suki, you are looking to dive the backline. It is your job to keep an eye on their hunters and mages and make their life absolutely miserable. Now, you don't have to full commit to the fight right away. You can play a little bit more passive. Just your presence in the range can be annoying. So if you don't want to full commit, what you do is you throw down your 3 and your 1. You get these abilities out into the world, and then you just start kind of kiting them around and using your ranged autos in order to put them down. So you do a little bit of here. Look at this, a little bit of ranged poke. Apollo's already down to half HP, and I didn't need anything crazy right there. I can use my ranged autos to actually hit the Phoenix as well. These are considered ranged auto attacks, so that means it does work on everything like that. Looking for a little stun under the Mercury. I'm gonna try to chase him down right here, waiting for the Aegis to run out, hit him with the 1, get a little bonus movement speed Chonka, and now I'm gonna use my ulti towards the end of the fight so I can chase down people that are trying to get away. Throw some bonus damage down onto this Apollo. See if I can't get in the range of my 1. Not quite gonna be able to kill him, but we might be able to actually end the game anyway. So as we get into the later stages of the game on Suki, I like to use my ultimate towards the end of the fight compared to the beginning of the fight. If you use your ulti right at the start of the fight, you're gonna yeet yourself right into their entire team. You're not gonna kill anybody, and then you're gonna be in a really awkward spot. If you wait until the very end of the fight, use your 1 and your 3 to bring some heat into the fight. You're still doing a bunch of damage. You're still providing action, but then you can use your ultimate when there's like maybe 1 character already dead, so you can start chasing people all the way through so they can't get away. Makes Suki really, really hard to get away from if you do it in that order. Moving into the late stages of our build, you can see we pretty much had it wrapped up, except for our Warrior Tabi. We would have, of course, sold our Warrior Tabi, gotten ourselves our Potion of Speed, our Poot, of course, our Red Pot, and then we would have sold that for 1 more item. In this option, you have a couple of things that you can keep in mind. You can go for something with a bunch of cooldown, like you can get like an Erendite. Erendite gonna be super sweet for chasing down your targets after your ultimate. It's super sick. Plus gonna give you a little bit of CDR. You've got Bloodforge as you dive into the backline. If you're feeling yourself, be careful combining the Bloodforge and the Soul Eater together. If they have a bunch of anti-healing, you're basically kind of counter-building yourself a little bit, so be a little bit aware of that. And also keep in mind, you can just go straight tanky with the Mantle of Discord. Will still provide you a little bit of CDR, but it's also going to provide you a little bit of extra tankiness. If you're having to frontline for your team, maybe your team's a lot squishier than mine was this game. Maybe you have to use that ultimate as initiation so they all focus you. Maybe go something like the Mantle of Discord, guys. And that is our Suki guide.